live streaming right now. Okay. And one last place, and that's my, okay, so we're going to stay on that page for a second. This is my calendar. It's another thread we don't need. Okay, so what are we working on today? We are working on two things. We are working on, and you can see in here, tsd3.x. That means 2 scoops of Django. As I think of things, I will start putting them into the 2 scoops of Django book. This is part of how we do it, is through especially for new tech that we haven't visited before. We do it through experimentation and just reviewing things, often during the middle of projects that we're working on or that we're working with other people. The project in question that we're working on is called Right or Not. So project, Right or Not, there it is. Okay, and Right or Not, if you are new, is a publishing platform that we're working on. The goal of Right or Not is to basically create a platform where you can use either our interface to write books, you can save files in various Git repos on GitHub or GitLab, as well as even Google Docs if you want to write stuff in Google Docs. The reason why we're doing Google Docs is this isn't just for tech book authors, although that's the initial target, but also fiction authors. And in addition to writing or co-authoring 2 scoops of Django, I have written a number of fiction books. So that's why we're doing that. And then is this, let's see which version of Python the terminal is working on. Let's see, come on. So for whatever reason, the settings in this did not pull up. Look at that, and there's my environment, and yet when I check the Python version, it's saying, oh, you're on Python 2.7. So let's, maybe if that's really annoying, to be honest. And now my computer is kind of hanging. Yeah, one of these days I want to get a more powerful computer. If you think that, hey Patrick, how's it going? Gossam, is it? I'm forgetting your name, but Patrick is easy as an English speaker. I need to internationalize my speaking. Anyway, so let's get going. Let me see if I can get my terminal. I often don't even like to work in this terminal, to be honest. I like to have my shell be separate. So I'm just going to move that over there. And okay, so here we go. We're going to start. Oh, I got some more followers. Isn't that awesome? So I have 92 followers. That's cool. Okay, so some of you might have seen that while I'm setting this up, that I had set up, or that I had posted about Audrey and I building the 3D printer that we just got. We splurged and spent $300 on a 3D printer. And so we live streamed taking out the box and constructing it. So we did our first unboxing. The problem with it is that the frame rate was off. So even though the video is saved, like we looked at, and it was completely unwatchable. So I deleted it just because it was so embarrassing. Okay. So for Right or Not is, like I said, is this publishing platform that we're working on. And we've actually built it a couple times already. We've built it in Firebase as part of a hackathon that we won another hackathon. We don't compete in hackathons because normally, but when we do, we tend to win. So we won that, and then we rebuilt it using AppSync with DynamoDB as a backend. But in both cases, there were just things that we didn't like about it. So now we're we're building it in Django. We are not just Django people. My nickname is pydanny. It's not Django Danny. So, and I love JavaScript and C# and stuff. So, anyway, right or not, if you look at it from a technical book perspective and look at like the models that we're constructing, on the surface it does bear some resemblance to LeanPub. And certainly we respect and admire LeanPub, but we are building something that suits our needs better. And this is sort of like a hobby project, and it does well, that's great. And if it doesn't, well, it is fun to build, right? So we have our models, we have books, books can have chapters, and then we have contributor types, and a contributor can be another author, an editor. One of our plans is to have the ability to have multiple people working on this at the same time, you know, in the same file, kind of like with Google Docs, as well as and do end-to-end encryption. I'm not sure we can combine those two, but we're going to see. But that is a feature. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Thank you for the LaTeX sample. Maybe when I take a break from Right or Not during this, I'll look at it. And Hiki, who is a editor for both Django Crash Course and 2 Scoops of Django, also submitted something. So I have to also compare his to yours. It's not a competition though. Maybe we'll make it work together. So yeah, maybe we can do real-time collab on the LaTeX. But first, let's get into Django because I've been hankering to code all weekend. So last week, playing around with async views, we discovered some really interesting things about it if you're coming into this. If you do a read view, like the book detail view, which just reads a view and displays the text, you know, the contents of the book model. If you do an asynchronous get on the data, so when you query the database, it will not, the query can happen after the HTML is rendered. And when that happens, then the query, the value of the query doesn't show up in the HTML. And that makes perfect sense. What that tells us, though, and this is going to go into 2 Scoops of Django, is if you're doing a read view, like a detail view, you probably don't want to be hitting your database asynchronously. So that was something that we picked up. And in hindsight, I mean, we like kind of noodled around with it, us and everybody else in the stream. It's kind of obvious in hindsight, right? I mean, like the person with years of asynchronous coding in me is like, wow, that's so obvious. But you know, when you're trying out something new, sometimes the obvious stuff is not so obvious. Now, one of the things I started to work on also was the book update view, and this right here signifies that's asynchronous view. And this is blowing up, this update view. It's blowing up, and I'm not sure why. I have some ideas, but what is probably happening is that the user in question, or not the user in question, my guess is that the functions, or sorry, not functions, methods inside the update views in Django are just not really designed to handle being called asynchronous. What this tells me is that if you want to, at least for right now, and we'll see how asynchronous views build in Django, if you want to write asynchronous views, it's probably good to have book lard view. Let's say this is, if I have an action view, of action being where I'm updating some kind of database someplace, I probably want to build it off of the root view in Django. the base view in Django, and here's why. There's a lot of machinery that's added with the update view. There's a lot of mix-ins. There's a lot of complexity. I certainly can and will dig into there, but one of the things I've learned is over the years is when you have abstractions like the generic views in Django, whenever you have something that changes their entire behavior, and you do that on a large set of abstractions like generic class-based views in Django, you'll run into problems. And if they aren't obvious at first, then that is what they call edge cases, and those can trip you up. So at the moment, and we're going to be testing this throughout building Right or Not, for now, I will probably be working off of the simple base views and doing stuff like def get, right? It's self, I can type, really I can, self request, and all those other arguments that come with it. So in the meantime, what I want to do is I do want to get some foundation for, yeah, Aaron, okay, so I see what you mean by collab. Yeah, so the idea is with Right or Not, we can use CK Editor to handle asynchronous collaboration on Markdown documents. And Fabio, who's my coworker, has a lot of experience with CK Editor, and the JavaScript API doesn't look that complicated. The area of complication that we have is one of the requirements that we want to institute for the project, and this is something that would differ us from the excellent product that is LeanPub, is that we would do end-to-end encryption. And I'm not sure you can do real-time collaboration in the same document and maintain end-to-end encryption. And so, well, I guess it's going to be stored in the same single model, but then that means that what I am seeing exposed, how do I see it if my encryption key is different than, say, yours, Aaron? So I'm not sure it's possible, but it's going to be a while before we get to that. All right, so let's get rid of this async view mix-in. What I do want to do is make books, book update view and book detail view. I want to make it so that you have to be authenticated to see them. So it's Django contrib.auth.mixins import login require mixin, and then if you don't know your mixins always, is it login require mixin? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Your login requirement or your mixins always go to the left of the base view. So here it is. Here's our base view, and then there's the mixin to change the behavior. And then for now, I'm just thinking, I know that there's a way to handle getting the, I know there's a way to pass the test, but I think I'm going to do, to make sure that only the owner of the view, or in this case, the creator at this time, can modify the view. I'm not going to do like other types of viewers do it. So I'll just stick it in getObject for now, and later if there's, I think they now have a mix-in for Django, which is like user passes tests or something like that to see whether or not a collaborator can already access it. But I like to start simple and then iterate into more complexity over time. So we're going to do query set equals none, and then return. Now, one thing is, right now I have this as getObject or 404. The thing about it is, should this return a 404 or HTTP response forbidden? You tell me, because if we have end-to-end encryption, that means that we care about security. Shouldn't this have an HTTP, like you're not allowed to see it? The flip side is that means if someone discovers that, hey, look, if I go to this URL, it says I'm forbidden to see this, does that mean that they can't, if they get a forbidden, that means that they know something's there, they don't have access to it. If it's 404, it means that they can never find it. And the nice thing perhaps about having the forbidden is that at some point we can say, hey, request access, although that gets into a lot of complexity maybe we don't care about. So let's stick with a 404, and right now we're just doing IDs, just self dot args these, so we get the primary key, and then that should give us the book update view. And I think, and then we also have, before we get that far, we have creator equals self dot request dot user, and we can do the same thing for the book detail view. And what we'll probably do at some point is create a public book detail view, but for now we're just gonna, only the creator can see a book. And the reason why we'd have a public detail view is whether or not a book is published determines the nature of the get object query. But let's first run it, and since we're not going to be testing asynchronous behavior in it right now, we're just going to use run server. We'll get to asynchronous behavior, I assure you we will. Just for now, we're just trying to lay out the foundations of what we're building. And I'm going to set up some word wrap. And, oh, you know what? I need to start Postgres. I shut it down. Earlier today, we sent out an update of 2 scoops of Django. And that is a very intense LaTeX build on this computer. So yeah, I think someone in this stream, I'm not going to name names unless they want to raise their hand, said last week that they have a $7,000 MacBook Pro. And like it's like, I guess, the most expensive one with all the upgrades that you can buy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just thinking how fast I could do a build of our books. And because when I built Django Crash Course on Friday night, it took a while. It was like 2 hours to build all the different versions. And that's normally doesn't take that long. But streaming eats up a lot of resources on an older machine like this one. Not that this machine is that old, but this is not a super duper powerful machine. It is the best version of the MacBook Air 2016 that you could get. So it's, for doing Django development, if I'm not streaming, it's really fast. So, oh, and that webknitter, that is Nikita. Hey, Nikita. He is working on one of the Django Crash Course extensions, and specifically it is deploying to production using Docker and that tool chain. So really, really excited by that. Okay, so we have our browser. Or we have not our browser, the server's up. I think I need to sign in. Come on, computer, you can do it. Okay, and I think I created pydanny as an account. Come on, you can do it. Oops, did I use Daniel Feldroy as a name? Come Come on. Okay, yes I did. Okay, so I haven't played with navigation. Right now I'm just trying to get the models down. Oh, and I need to have a backslash. I think there's a setting to redirect it there. What? Where's my book? Oh. Maybe it is because it needs to be books. That's right. Okay, so it doesn't like ID, it wants PK. Let me just expand it a bit. I need to get like black to build off this automatically. Okay, well, it's thinking. I'm gonna... Is that black doing that? How far over are we? So that is at column 88. So something is happening when I hit save. I just don't know what it is. So let's see. What? Okay, hold on. Reverse. It's not finding it. Hold on, this is embarrassing. Okay, so I created the URLs. Use book table. Let's see if did I configure this correctly? Okay, I got rid of this. Okay. So right or not book URLs, and then what error am I getting? So it's thinking this is, oh, you know what? I need to change the order of precedence. Maybe, let's see, maybe like that. What? No reverse match for arguments. Why is it doing that? I'm right there. I wonder, what did I do? This is really embarrassing. I mean, this is like a simple URL match, and I'm messing it up in front of all batch of you, a bunch of you. Come on, you can do it. Come on, computer. Okay, so there it is. And then I want to, if I look, so books is, I can stick books there. Oh, well, that's kind of why. I have it in the wrong place. And I wrote this. This line, which is in Cookie Cutter Django, now Django Crash Course, I write that. Your stuff. That's the sort of thing I would write. Okay, and then we can check the URLs for books. This is very straightforward. This should just work. So let's give it a try. Nothing's pulling up. Now we can go to books. Yeah, PK is ID number. Detail. What the heck? Why is this breaking? User's detail. One pattern tried. So it's trying books. This is really weird. So we have books. This is users, right? So this is going to user's detail. So there's the user space, user's namespace. And then there's the detail. So if I go back to the config, the namespace for this is books, So that should just work. Is there anything wrong in the, let's check the apps. This can, books, it all says books. So where I specify it is here, it's asking for PK. So Nikita, our web knitter, asked, do you accept PK in the view method, signature explicitly? It's right there. And then within this, the view, you can see that here we're looking for self-quargs PK. Is that what I think it is? Hold on. Now this is running Django 3.1a, so there may be a behavioral. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know it's there may be a behavioral change, or I could just have introduced a typo somewhere. I thought it was a quarg. Let's hit refresh again. So PK. So, all right, when I hit, hold on, let me move this over so everyone can see. Watch this. When I refresh, see that PK1, and then we get the error. But what I saw first before that PK1, I mean, this is what we see. So we know that the primary key is there, and for some reason it is not showing up. So ID is 1, creator is self-request.user, which would be accurate. Maybe let's get rid of this real quick and see if that makes a difference. Oh. So you, Patrick is saying the error is in the template. I'm not sure how this is an error. This is old code. This is known to work. So, I mean, is it this or is it something else? The only, if I look at the so reverse or match detail with arguments Daniel Feldroy is not found. One pattern tried the book, so it's, why is it trying to do, this is acting like, yeah, but, all right, so if I pull up the template, the template calls from the base HTML file and pulls up book.title, right? So really straightforward. If I look at base, and then here, if I look up user's detail, this is the line that it's breaking on. And I don't understand why this is breaking. Like, why is it trying to, considering that the URL is books. Yes, yeah, I think you're right. Something is wrong with the namespace. That's why I was looking at the apps here, just to make sure that the namespace was correct, and it's correct. And then if I go here, oh my goodness, it's right there. Ah, oh my God, it's right there. I don't know why this machinery is here. I know this is a recent development. Yeah, so if you notice, this was saying users, it's supposed to say books. And now if I hit refresh, it's just going to work. Oh, come on, computer. So tell you what I'm going to do. Since you're all listening in, clearly I need a more powerful computer for this. There we go. We're good. Everybody's happy. I need a more powerful computer. The way that's going to happen is if I can either sell this product or sell lots of books. So if you haven't yet, buy all my books. And buy them for your friends. Get your company buy site license. What's interesting though is that you know, this is like such a little gotcha, and I'm sure that whoever added, and I'm sure there's a really good reason for it that someone can explain, but it's seriously a gotcha that this file inside the books directory has to have the app name of books. I guess that's to tie it to the namespace. It's just, and I can see why it'd be less magic on their part for coding, and it's just something that we have to get used to. But man, that was like 10 good minutes of coding time eaten up by that. Okay, let's continue. Okay, we're gonna make this a H1. Yeah, one of the things I want to do with this project is convert it to blanking. Convert it to Tailwind CSS. Oh, you do? Well, I can tell you how to get a discount if you go to my Patreon. You can get a discount anytime you want. Hold on, let me pull it up. It's like Patreon. It's not even my Patreon. It's our Patreon. So if you go to Patreon Feldroy, and I'll post that into the chat, and we will give you a discount. I don't know what it is. Off the top of my head, it's a 10 or 20%, I forget, but you have to buy it at a certain level to get it. It's like for $5 or $6, I think. We can look at the tiers real quick. And that way we can go from $15 a month up to like, I think it's $5, and we give you like a 10% discount. So for 2 scoops of Django, it'd pay for itself. And our goal is because right now we're at $15 a month with Patreon. Another $15 with GitHub, so that's $30 US a month. That's enough money for us to go to a fast food restaurant and get a serious meal, including dessert. We could do that once per month. Or we could live on rice and beans for about half the month for $30. So if you want to, and that's all the money we make from our open source work, which is why I say open source doesn't pay. Okay, so let's put in a quick link to a. Okay, let's do. Not that I'm bitter or anything. Although I am jealous of Evan Yu, because that dude, he's the guy behind Vue.js. He makes like $20,000 a month off of working on Vue.js. He I don't know how he lands the sponsors, yeah, he's got some. In fact, the whole Vue.js community is that way. Like, you start a project, get any traction, you just get sponsors. I think Alibaba and a number of other people support him. The JavaScript community, I think, are better at that than the Python community. But we're nicer, I guess, in theory. So, yeah, maybe I'll catch some flack for that. All right, so we're going to do URL and then it's going to be books, and then it is book.id. And so now I should be able to hit refresh, and we should have, oops, and at some point I'll put the description. I'll use a Markdown parser, like Markdown init would be it. So here's our update view, and I know it works. So that is the book detail view and the book update view. So we know these work, and we can move on in a second. There we go. And then creator equals self.request.user. Okay, and we know this works because it works down here. So, okay, so our next thing I want to do is put in books and create a link to books, and then a list, do a list view of books. And again, we're not going to make this an asynchronous view, just because it's read data. And thank you, Patrick. I just saw that. I really appreciate that. Patrick is going to be sponsoring us. So now we can do return, and then book.objects.filter, and then it would be creator equals self.request.user. So now you can get, actually it shouldn't be, and this shouldn't be book update view. This should be book list view. We have that imported, and my books. And we'll get rid of the list view. Now, why did it not like this? Oh. Self. But self is in there. What did I do wrong? Oh, silly me. Okay, so now I can create a book list view. Get rid of the crispy ties. Oh, well, I have a window open, so I just had a tissue blow at me. All right, so book title. So we're going to change this to my books, and then we're going to keep this super simple for when we switch over to Tailwind. For book and books, I think that'll work. So part of the reason I'm messing up a lot when I type is because I'm still jittery when I stream. I should actually be able to do just that, and then I can even do book.get absolute URL, because I defined the get absolute URL on the view function. So now if I go, oh, I need to wire it in. Okay, so we will do create a new route, and we're going to call this mine. We'll call it mine. Okay, so now if I go to mine, I should get, and it doesn't like me. Come on, you can do it, Django. It did not like it. So books, mine, oh. Okay, so there we have my books. I'm not seeing the list of books that should be returned. So see how we have book.objects, and we're not seeing anything. So let's check our Django debug toolbar, make sure that we have the query, and I think, you know why? Oh, I'm so silly. Get query set. Okay, now let's try it. And it's taking a while. Okay, so we still don't have it. So I'm clearly not remembering what the list view information is. So I'm gonna pull that up real quick. So it's get query set. So why is it not liking what I'm putting in? So print. Oh, you know why? So I have books, and I think if I, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. I'll show you what I did wrong. So if I, no, because, hold on, let's try it again. So it is my books view, 2 queries. We don't have books in there. Let's see, we should be able to pull up the context and see if there is, so it's book list. Oh my God, that's right. Okay, how embarrassing is that? Now, and with the magic that is Django, so didn't like the book, oh, because, hold on, I know how to fix this. Early on, I had a slightly, yeah, books, detail, okay. Come on. Okay, so there we have it, and if you can see in the bottom, way at the bottom, it goes to the URL that we have. Now we can add to the base HTML, it should be here, and we have about, and we can add a item in here, my books, and then we can do URL my, what did I call it in here? Oh, books mine. Now, a bit of confusion though is if we actually provide a payment platform for this, right? Like where you can publish. My books can mean books you've published, and it can mean books you've purchased. So we'll have to resolve that at some point, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. Okay, so we have this really simple thing now, and we can update it. I wanna add chapters. I think I will, yeah, I think I'm gonna do it now rather than do the Tailwind integration. Maybe I'll do the Tailwind integration later this week. So I'll just start adding chapters and or add the chapters to it. Where is big, and then, okay, so we have, I'm going to get rid of this ace. Well, it's kind of useful to have this as a reference. I'll keep it in mind for later. And now I'm going to do class chapter detail. Arguably, the chapter list view is the book detail view. So if you have the detail of a book, this view should also show the chapters. So we'll probably include that once we get some chapters into the book. Program for mix-in, and then this would be a detail view, and then model equals book, model equals chapter, okay, and then I think that's, oh, and then we need to have a query set. So with the book, for the ID, let's see, how do we want to do this query? So the model is chapter, and then the creator is, no, hey Markamoto, no, I didn't blur the screen. Can you still see the screen? It shouldn't be blurred at all. Is anybody else running into blurs? Okay, well, so it's good now? Okay, good. Okay, so we have ID, let's see, so we want to do related filters. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess it happens to us. I delete the videos we recorded yesterday because they were really bad. We had the frame rate all wrong. So I think what I'm gonna do is, whenever I'm like not sure how I want to use getObject or 404, I'll stick with the get method for a little bit, and then if I need to, I can go to the shortcut. And in this case, the query isn't super duper simple, so I would do like chapter.objects.get. Let's do try, and then except chapter does not exist, and then raise HTTP 404. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And then for the, and I'll just comment this out so we have it as a reference. And then for the get, we'll do book. So I think it would be book creator equals self.request.user, because right now with this particular chapter detail view, gotta fix that. Only the creator of a book has to be able to see it, and then the ID should be ID equals self.orgs pk. And what we might do at some point is, actually what we ought to do, not at some point, right now, we'll do book ID equals, and then the book ID is self.orgs pk. Okay, So let me make that a little bit more legible, and I'll explain what my awesome vision is. So the book creator would be me. We relate to that. The book ID, we refer to the, actually we can just do this, so it's also, that'll work as a query. And then, you know, we have ID being the ID of the chapter, because we're not being super, we may play around with the URLs later. And then from Django, Django.http import HTTP 404. Okay, so if it can't find it, it raises a 404. So that's, I just find it easier sometimes to think this way than to use get object or 404. And at some point I may, you know, there's things I can do, oops, to clean this up. And now we should do the same for the chapter update view. And makes me wonder if maybe I should like have a base view, but let's hold off from creating base views and things like that for now. Okay, so let's now, oh, and one more view. We're gonna add the create view. Oh, I just realized we don't have a create view with books right now. I'm just doing it in the Django admin. So we have chapter update view, and then the chapter create view is pretty straightforward. And then I'm gonna be really cheesy and templates, books, because I'm lazy when I can be lazy. I'm going to copy the book form to be the chapter form. Okay, so okay, and then we also have book detail is now the chapter detail. Now we can just tweak some bits and pieces of it. We will leave, let's see, chapter body. Okay, and then we're gonna get rid of this. Okay, let's wire that in. So first of all, in the book detail form, let's add a create chapter link. Oh, and let's wire in the URLs because that might help too. Okay, so we go to URLs for books, and we're going to add a chapter create. And then we'll do the same things for so chapter create, but I think what we need to do is I want to include the book ID. And so we're going to add a book ID, which will change how our view is called. We also have a chapter create view, or chapter, this is going to be chapter update. And what this is going to do is it will have the book ID that we have here, and then we also have so we have book ID, chapter ID, and then we're going to do the same thing with our detail view, except for we're going to get rid of all the text. So, and then this is the detail, chapter, detail. Pretty straightforward stuff. That's chapter update. Okay, so there we go. We have chapter create, update, delete, and then let's go to our views again. Make sure that we have those 3 views so it's not blowing up on us. Update, we have detail, and one of the things we're going to have to do is okay, and that actually fits in with our design. So I didn't invent, I actually invented it here. So I'm so smart. Okay. And now when we do create this, we're going to do def form valid self form. Then we're going to do chapter equals form.save. We're going to have actually, let's start with, let's get rid of this. Let's copy it down here. First, we're going to do apply it on the here. So we have, we're going to do commit equals false. What commit equals false does is it means that the record is called without, or the record is instantiated without saving it to the database. So the chapter object is created. And then here we're going to do chapter.book equals, see how we have, we're getting this value right there. So we could do book.objects, actually, I know what we do, get object or 404. So this way, if someone sticks in a fake book ID, it'll blow up on them. So ID equals yeah, so okay, and then also we want to make sure that the person creating, the person getting this book is the right person for it. So self.request.user. Wow, it's getting into this kind of code. I know this isn't complicated, but it's a challenge for me to do it while all of you are watching. So please bear with me. Okay, so the book is set, and I think we can just then chapter.save and then return super, or I think at this point I can just, what does that require? I'm like so blinking right now, and I've written God knows how many form views. So form valid. Oh, so once if it's successful, then it just wants, so I can just call super. Actually, you know what? I will do, let's just do chapter.get absolute URL, and then because we also have, we can set the get absolute URL for the chapter. So some of you might wonder, well, hey, Danny, why don't you oh, this is going to be a little bit faster. Why don't you create a chapters app? And the answer why I don't do that is creating apps is an art, and there are times when you can break things up too far to the point of unmanageability. And then later on down the road, I can assure you with this particular design, we'd be like, oh, it'd be great if chapters were part of books. There's just the domain within that, within right or not for books, and what is contained in books is books. When we start handling payments, that would be in at least one payment app. But books, I'm pretty strongly believe in, having built this twice already and having lots of Django experience, I think book should be its own app. Okay, so I think we have our view, and I think that we should be good to go. I don't think that there's anything. Oh, you know what? We are going to need fields. Fields equals, and we have title and body, so I can just stick that in. Okay, so let's give this a try. We're gonna update the book. Oops, Django's restarting. Oh, it didn't like that at all. It had a problem with the thread. Wow, I think that was a that was a unique one. I wonder if that's because we're running 3.1 alpha. Oh, I see. See that? The chapter update view is, so we create view, update view, okay, so we have this create chapter link. Let's, yeah, we're gonna make these buttons, and that did not do what I expected. Oh, it's because we need to, in our book detail, that's not it. Where is it? Book detail. So we need to, so it's URL books chapter create, and then we have book.id, and I think that's all we need. So now if I refresh, chapter create, oh. And look, we have our chapter, and one of the things I want to do before we get too much further, and I'm realizing, so if we look at this book view, so the thing is with this book view, later on I get the book and I save it here, but I also will need to call it here within this. And the way I called this chapter object, it is not, it is like, it's not calling the book object, it's just identifying the foreign key to the book through the book ID URL argument. So what I need to do for the template is provide the ability, since we know we have the book ID right here, we want to have a book object that we don't really care about here because this query is fine, but here we are saving the book here, and then we also need in the template to say this is a chapter for this book. So to address that, I will do create book, and then we'll do, see how we have this get object 404. We're going to return get object 404, and then to optimize this, we're going to make it a cached property. So that way, if we need to, I don't think we're going to need to call it more than once, but in case we do, we will have utils dot functional import. Oh, wait a second. I think someone just opened up an issue in 2 scoops of Django that Python 3.8 has a cache property decorator in it. So let's check that out. Python 3.8 cached. I haven't used it yet. I'm so excited. I get to use a new Python feature. Let's see if there's anything that we have to worry about. I know it says 3.8. Let's switch to the version of Python that we're on. Look at that cached property. And I'm proud to say that my Python library called cache property had an influence in some of the design of this, because the original version of this wasn't thread safe. And when someone said, "Hey, look, Danny, they're talking about cache property," and I went on there and I said, "Oh, your implementation is on thread safe," and now they've changed the cache property function, or they altered it for Python 3.8. So because of me, haha, maybe someone else will figure it. So it'd be thread safe and a bunch of other things safe. So I'm so excited that that I made a difference in core Python. Maybe someday I'll contribute to it. I know Anthony Shaw has a book on C Python internals, and that might make it might mean I will contribute. But to get back to where we were, I've got my cache. I'm going to import from functools, import cache property. Oh, so exciting. From functools, import cached property. And now with, so once I set this, I can call self.book as many times as I want, and it will, you know, I can do basically self.book, and now whenever a record is called, I mean, once you call this function once within the instance of an object, it will call this function, which is now a cache property. It won't hit the database again, it hits it once. And just to let you know, cache property, my library, is in Docker Compose. It's actually in a lot of stuff, and it will be for a while until everyone's using Python 3.8, or maybe they like some of the additional features of my library. I just find all of this very exciting. Okay, so I have cache property, and where else am I? So we have self.book, and then in the chapter form, we want, now if I refresh my page, oh, so this is a chapter form, and oh, I know why. View.book.title and view.book.title. I have to be very careful with this technique. I'll explain why in a bit. So there we go. There's the book title. This should be a little bit more clear that let's see. Oops, we're all the way down into users. Okay, so now now you know. Yeah, if you're wondering about like some of the usability of this design, this is not what the final design is like. I'm just getting the views in place. So when I switch over to Tailwind, I will have these things to work over. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go with vanilla Tailwind, which I'm okay with, or just jump in with Tailwind Ui, which I think costs some money. But anyway, title chapter, and it's using, okay, so now let's see what happens. Introduction, body, welcome to 2 scoops of Django. Yay, it blew up. Okay, so chapter has no attribute book ID. How does that make any sense? Because, oh my god, it doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because my chapter model doesn't have a foreign key to a book. Oh my god, how embarrassing. That is, I blame someone. I don't know who yet I'm gonna blame, but I blame them. Book, that's right. Okay, and then null is absolutely not true. Yeah, it's an easy fix. And then on delete, we're gonna models dot. We don't want to cascade. If you destroy a chapter, the chapter, you know, the book shouldn't go away because you remove a chapter from a book. I think what we want to do is set null. There's no reason to protect or anything like that. We just want the chapter gone and not worry about it. Maybe we'll do logical deletes. We'll see. Okay, so we'll refresh this. Oh, I need to do migration. And while this is, oops, chapter book, it cannot be null. Okay. And we'll test this design within the book and make sure that, I mean, within the application. So once I create a, oh, that was really embarrassing that we forgot it. Once we create a chapter 2, what we'll do is we will make sure that we can go into the admin, and if we delete a chapter, it doesn't delete a book. If we delete a book, it deletes all the chapters. Oops. Yeah, it's funny. On the one hand, I'm able to focus a lot better when I stream because that's why I started doing this. On the other hand, I get jittery and I get performance anxiety. So I like making a few goofy mistakes here and there. Come on, Django, you can do it. Okay, so let's try it again. Introduction. We stand on the shoulders of ice cream. Oh my goodness, that's so embarrassing. So it's looking for chapter D tall. I'm just seeing if it created it in the admin. So there's the book, and we don't have a chapter. Okay, didn't think it would work. Just seeing if that behavior had changed. Okay, let's. Chapter detail with arguments PK3 book ID not found. Why? Let's go to the admin, see did we get a chapter. So we didn't get a chapter created. Let's start the book creation from scratch. Introduction. So why? So keyword arguments, one not found. Why is that PK4 book ID not found? So we have the chapter, we save the chapter, we return the get absolute URL, and that is where it is failing. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to do this. Maybe there's a order. So thank you, Matharoni. I'll remember that next time you submit me in Jiu-Jitsu. Matharoni, for those of you not listening, is we train at the same gym, and we do jiu-jitsu together sometimes. I can't come in the evenings that often, which is when he's there. And of course, neither of us can go to the pandemic. And so I don't, yeah, I'm still white belt, so I haven't submitted anyone who's above that. So reverse for chapter detail. What the heck? Models. Books, chapter detail. Let's check the URLs. Yeah, I wish we could go back. I miss everybody. I miss you, and for me, it's a good way to get out a lot of my anxieties and stress and anger. So there's book ID 1, and then ID. Oh, it's looking for ID, and it's going to PK. Did I? Oh my God, that's why. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so that's the chapter. It's created, and if I go to my books, let's add within 2 scoops of Django. Let's add a chapter list to this, just so we have it, and it makes it a little bit easier to look at. Put a pipe symbol there, and then we can do the created chapter. Actually, I think should be a list item at the bottom of the list. That's closer to what my design idea is. I have this design in mind for Right or Not. That's going to be awesome. It's kind of like, sort of like a book, and we've implemented it on our earlier implementations of Right or Not. But I think Tailwind is going to make it the best. For chapter in book.chapter set.all. And we're not worrying about order at the moment with chapters. We'll get to that. And then it's chapter.get absolute URL. So I've got a great idea. If any of you do jujitsu or want to learn jujitsu, if we ever meet up, you know, we can do like friendly rolling. That's like, you know, if you don't know jujitsu, that's where you kind of get together and everybody, I know this, everybody kind of, like, you're not trying to kill each other. It's more of just a, you know, it's like friendly competition. And the nice thing about something like jiu-jitsu is that there's rules to it. And we'll have a rule of, like, no heroes, no anger, right? Like, the rule will be tap early and tap often. The goal is to have fun and to play around. So, and if you haven't done jiu-jitsu before, if you want to see what it's like, you can do it, and then we'll just have an agreement. If it's someone's first time, you know, take it easy. Don't worry too much about beating them. Although in jiu-jitsu, usually someone who's a higher belt than someone else is going to win. Yeah, Aaron, if you do judo, that is something that you would bring. In fact, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gi is basically usually, I mean, Joey can correct me if I'm wrong. No, don't use leg bars. Not unless, I mean, it's friendly. Aaron's poking fun. Leg locks and leg bars are really nasty, and if you haven't rolled before, if you haven't done wrestling or jiu-jitsu before, and someone puts a leg lock on you, you won't necessarily know how much trouble you're in before you get injured. Yeah, Matharoni's right. And actually, from what I understand, the leg stuff, that's kind of a Los Angeles rule. And there's lots of jiu-jitsu schools in Los Angeles. Leg locks and stuff like that are used at, what is it, purple belt or higher typically, and usually it's like, you say, hey, do you mind if I use leg locks? But once you get to brown or black, anything goes. But yeah, don't be careful with the leg locks. That's just mean. Okay, let's add a plus symbol. And what we do in the production version of this, or in the Tailwind version, we'll make it a little bit more obvious that create chapter is not just the list of it. But let's create another chapter. We'll call this coding standards. And we won't put a number. We're going to handle numbers differently. We like them. And so now, okay, so what I want to do is actually, so when we, rather than direct to if we look at the views, here we're doing chapter.save. And what I want to do is, instead of going to the chapter, I want to go to the book that owns the chapter. So again, define get and then we're gonna self.book. See, I'm calling my book cache property, and then well, Aaron, it'd be fun to roll with you and anyone else in the channel who's here who agrees to you know, basically agree to have fun, and then we can, for those of you who drink, we can go and get something to drink afterwards. What I've done here is I've defined a different get success URL, so instead of going to the chapter, it's going to go to the book. And some of you might be wondering, well, Danny, why aren't you building this in Vue.js? You love Vue.js, and I do. The thing is that in this case, what I want to do is instead of, so David Heinemeier Henson of Rails, he's building a new application called hey.com, which is like a replacement for Gmail and other mail clients, except for it means you don't get spam or something like that, and it's immune to a lot of marketing techniques. He is not building as a single page app. He's using Ruby templates inside of Rails, and he's using techniques like e-tags and other things and turbo links to make it super snappy and fast. And part of what I'm doing with Write or Not is I want to try that, where instead of having heavy JavaScript front end, there's going to be JavaScript. There's going to be quite a bit of JavaScript, but we're going to focus on using vanilla JavaScript, e-tags, using a library called HTMX to, when we do API calls, we're not going to load in JSON. We're going to grab snippets of HTML and inject them in. That's what the library is designed to do. And I think it'll work great. It's kind of refreshing to build a real app this way again. This doesn't mean I don't like Vue.js. I like Vue.js. I just want to try something new and get to come along. All right, so let's do environment setup. Is that chapter 2? And okay, so I create it, and now we should go back to the book, and there we go. So now we have it directed to the right place, and if I go to the chapter, you can see there's that, and then I will, let's link to from the chapter detail, and again, keeping this super simple because I will be moving this to Tailwind shortly. Okay, so update, and then we're going to specify the URL. So it would be view.book.id, because it starts with the book ID in the URL, and then we have chapter.id, and then it would be books, chapter, edit. And now let's see if it likes me. Oh, it didn't like that. Chapter update. Oh, come on. So it looked for, so it didn't like, don't I have, oh, you know why? I know why. So see, I have this cache property here for the book, and where I don't have it is in the update view. Okay, so let me try this, and then I'll look at your guys's, or not you guys's, because I'm not gonna mess up my genders. Come on, you can do it, Django. Come on, you can do it. Ah, so it still didn't like it, so I'm doing something wrong. Let's see, I have chapter detail and the view. So this is a chapter update view. Oh, you know why? Oh, I know why. This is so embarrassing. So the chapter detail needs to have chapter.book ID. So this is the chapter object. The foreign key, I could do chapter.bookid. That would cause it to query the database chapter. It would query to find the chapter's book and then get the ID of the book. How it would do that is look at this value right here, which is chapter.bookid. This is the foreign key relationship to the book model. I hope that makes sense. If you look here, there's book, and because we haven't mucked around with IDs, like primary keys or anything like that. Like, unless you really have to do it, never screw around with Django's primary keys. They'll work in 95% of cases. And if you see a tutorial telling you to replace it with something else, be wary, unless it's going to like a UUID or something like that. But if it's just, oh look, this is how you switch it, just stop doing that tutorial. I'm gonna make a video about that, explaining why. But there is an implicit book underscore ID which I can access in the template. And if I go back here, okay, I'm gonna answer people's questions in just a second. Okay, so I need to add the fields. So now I'm gonna go to views, and yeah, I don't have fields. So, and we have the title of the chapter and the body of the chapter. So now once Django finishes syncing, I'll answer. Okay, so BJS 209, everything you're doing is miles of your head for now. That's right, you'll get it. Yeah, absolutely. Do I have to work to get things right? I'm normally faster at getting things, but I'm having some performance anxiety because I'm not used to an audience yet. So just keep at it. Like anything you do, you have to practice to get better at it. So Gossam asked, do I prefer to use ID on href or slug? It depends. When these books are published, we will probably have some kind of slugification process. The problem with having a simple slug is that how do you handle duplicates? How do you, which one gets precedence? I wrote a blog article that someone wrote something really similar about and released it the morning I was going to release mine. I did that last week. So now that a little bit of time has passed, I'll probably publish it in a day or so. So you'll see what we'll end up going to probably on right or not. And it's based off the dev.to pattern, which actually is based off a blog article I wrote 8 years ago. So this is really a modernization of an article. Okay. And it so does have, look, I've got, oh, field, misspelled. Should be fields. Okay, let's let Django think for a second. Come on, Django, you can do it. So there we have our chapter update, and now environment setup. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So this is, oh, except for the update is going to the wrong place. There are so many similarities between the create view and the update view. Like what actually is different? And I think It's enough that I will probably, actually, why don't I create a, so if, for those of you who don't know how to create a mixin, I'm about to show you. Because the chapter update view and create view are so similar to each other, if I make a change to, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that match between the chapter update and the chapter create view. So if I alter any one of them, the other one can break. So I didn't want to create mixins yet, but chapter action mixin, that's such a, action is such a loaded term though. Chapter, what's it called when you alter something? Mutator? Could that be it? We'll call it mutate because it makes me think of the X-Men. We can change the name of it. So if you notice, I am not inheriting from anything else. This is a base class. I'm not sticking in login require mixin, even though both of these have it. And that's just to keep the inheritance chain as small as possible. Be you doing Python or Java, or it doesn't, or I guess does Go thing have inheritance? It doesn't matter. You want to keep your inheritance chain as light and thin as possible. It is just easier to debug if you don't have a complicated stack. That's why, like years ago, Tom Christie, who created Django REST Framework, he created Django vanilla views, which had a much lighter inheritance chain. We're not going to be doing that. The other thing I'm not going to do, even though that everything in here is in here, we're not going to inherit. One might say, well, Danny, why don't you just have chapter create view inherit from chapter update view? I could, but then what happens is you you don't know what else is in that update view that might be affecting your create view. And even if you do have a deep understanding of how class-based views work right now, let's say there's a new Django review that changes the behavior of one of your underlying mixins that's used to assemble into an update view. So that is why I like to keep my inheritance chain as light as possible. And so I'm going to put everything in there, and I pass, because this is literally powered by the chapter mutate mixin. I don't know if that's the right term, so you all can like tell me if I like am messing that up. And then I can do the same, and then I can get rid of things that are in both places. And now chapter create view really is about saving the book, making sure that the chapter is assigned the correct book, and chapter update view doesn't have any special behavior at this time because the user isn't, the book isn't going to change. We're not going to allow people to move a chapter from one book to another. If you want to do that, you'll have to do it either through the UI or if we create a public API, which we'll probably do at some point. We has plans. So let's just make sure that this works. See if the update, we're going to get rid of this. Oops. Okay, so that part of inheritance worked. Let's see if our create chapter worked. What comes up after environment setup? I don't know. We'll just call it security. Okay, so, and this worked as well. Awesome. So I'm trying to think, what do I want to do next? I have, I'm torn. I need to look at Aaron Hall and Hiki, who might be in the channel, they have both submitted LaTeX implementations of the tables for 2 scoops of Django. I could do that, or I could markdownify the text. And I think what I want to do is I actually want to markdownify the text. Nothing against the LaTeX, but I feel like I'm kind of on a roll, and it would be nice to like let, you know, if I can get this powering the way I want, that would be awesome. So that way we can see Markdown. So that way when I do get around to switching into Tailwind, which may be tomorrow, then I can just, I'll have the Markdown side of things already in place. To do that Markdown, what I want to do is I want to use Markdown It. Markdown It is a awesome Markdown library. It is a Markdown parser. It is written in JavaScript. It is compliant with CommaMark. It comes with all kinds of neat plugins. We've used it before on various projects, including Right or Not. The problem with it is that Markdown It is JavaScript, and our toolchain is Python, and Mist Sphinx, which is probably what's going to power the book building process to this, will probably customize and extend it, is Python. So how do we do this? How are we going to build this? And I think the answer to it is we use the Python port of this library that powers Mist Sphinx. So that way we have the toolchain that we need. So let's see, block tokens. I know I remember it. Maybe I can search. This is the Mist parser. If you want to do Markdown and Sphinx, this is the way to do it. Markdown it. Okay, Aaron, is that on GitHub? Now I'm super curious. So if you don't know this yet, if you the new 2 scoops of Django has it's in the issue. Make the tables pretty. Okay. Yeah, see, that's Enhiki, who he is a reviewer on some of our books, and this is Aaron, who is here in the channel. This is his solution. So Enhiki emailed. Yeah, you did. See, you just distracted the heck out of me. If you read this, it's issue number 12. There's some nice people who are offering to help who just aren't understanding the difficulty. And there's a couple other places where people are like, oh, we can go over it together. I did LaTeX, back in college. I did LaTeX. I don't know LaTeX, but I can help. I think I can help you. And it's like, no, you don't understand. LaTeX is a lot harder than Python. It is. It's yeah. I can use it. I have periods where I've gotten better. Okay, so let's look at. He sent me his. Let's look at Aaron's. Oh, that's what I don't like about. So there's Aaron's. So using book tabs and adjust box. Come on, you can do it. Okay. Is there any? So yeah, I see what you mean. This is the Tufty style, so it's very spare. Enhiki had something very similar, but with a bold top. I'm not going to make a decision what I will do, or not yet. What I will do is I will review these with Audrey. Maybe I can get her on tomorrow and we can go over them. It might have to be when our daughter is napping, or we might have her wiggling and wriggling as she plays in our laps. I think that's I mean, I do need to have Audrey look at it because she has a better visual than I. She's a better coder and she has a better visual, and she's better looking. So I married up. I will involve her in the discussion. So, but thank you, Aaron. I think this looks great. I love the tufty sort of feel to it, and I definitely can see it. It's much better than what we have, so I do appreciate it. Yeah, that's what we're discovering, is that not allowed. So we'll take out that row. Okay, so let's get back to what we're doing now, since we're gonna look at it later. So the render is Markdown Pi. That's the render that we're gonna go, and by using this, it means that our front end can have the same Markdown parser as the back end, and that's really, really useful, just because you know, it means that if we want to have the client side render it as Markdown, we can, and or not. Also, I like I have my, I don't know, I'm not gonna complain about other Python Markdown libraries, just because I'm a nice person, and now eventually I want to see what it's like to write extensions using Markdown Pi. So, oh look, they have syntax extensions already. All right, so how do we use it? We're gonna pip install it. Oops, wrong library. Activate. Okay, and we're gonna install Markdown Pi. So in this API is very similar to what it looks like, as a very similar API to the JavaScript version of it, where you kind of just pass in plugins very easily. You can disable or enable things, so it's really kind of nice. Oh, wow, you can do it from the command line. Oh, and it's fast. Well, that's good. Okay, and so it is 0.4.6, so let's get that into our requirements. Whenever you install something, get that into your requirements right away before you forget. And if I can find my requirements, so we're going to make a base requirement, right or not. And then it's Markdown Pi. Yeah, if you rely on doing pip freeze, you will end up with cruft that is to like figure out what your requirements are to try to track them down. You'll end up with cruft, things that don't belong, and sometimes maybe shouldn't be in production. Okay, so default. Oh, so there's emoji. Well, that's kind of nice. And mark, I don't know what mark is. There's a whole bunch of these. That's awesome, because I've thought about building this, and I didn't want to build it. Am I using the word dependencies, or am I saying requirements? I haven't thought that through. Oh, so marked. And then, all right, I think we're good. I'm not going to dig too deeply into this. We're just going to try and we will create a custom tag. God, I haven't done that in a while because typically what I've been doing is a lot of API design, so I actually forget right now how to create a custom tag. Or actually, I guess it'd be Django custom filter. It's a filter, right? That's pretty funny that I forgot how to write a filter. Okay, so, right, so I am at the root. Oh no, I'm gonna go down to books. Okay, so I'm at the same level as models and then, okay, we'll just call it, then we're going to call it book tags .pi, and then, I can't believe it. I used to be like remember this so well, and I used to, for a while I was writing like tons and tons of them, and then Audrey's like, oh, can you just stop writing so many template tags? All right, and then this is just a simple filter. So we're gonna do we mark the filter in some way? Yep. That's right. And isn't there like a simple tag? What is a simple tag? Well, we want to do a template tag, so we're going to do, so this is, okay, so we have that, and then what we're going to do is markdown it, and text, return text, and then we're going to do whoa. Okay, so we have Markdown it, and this might be, we will probably move to a core app, so that way, or a common app, so that way different apps can use it and it's easier to track. For now, we're going to allow it just to keep things a little bit simple. And we did load into it right in a moment. Yeah, so, all right, so let's, I think we can just do, we're gonna get rid of, and then how do we call it? It's such a weird API for calling it. I don't understand. Like, why is this inside of that? Is that like a Python 3ism? I find that really, really confusing. So I'm just gonna, for now, move this here and then do markdown text and put in the colon, and hopefully that doesn't blow up. Okay, so so now we're gonna go to our template. If our server is still running, it is, and we're going to start with our chapter detail. We're going to load book tags, and now we have, we're going to replace line breaks BR with R. It's around here somewhere, I promise you. There, we get rid of this chapter form, so we put markdown it. And now this should render out our chapter content in very attractive. Let's see if we can find it. Did I Did I close? I think I closed it. Okay, we're going to go to my books. 2 scoops of Django. And let's click on the security chapter. And whoa, here we go. So we have a problem. Oh, is it because I need to restart the server? I think with template tags, it's one of those things where you need to restart the server. And did I spell the word template tags correctly? Template tags, that's correct. There's the book tags. It's got init.py. We see the pi cache in there, so pi cache. Okay, so now we have Markdown that is not callable. So I guess we have to put it in parentheses. I don't understand. Let's look at the API again, just to make sure I understand how that API works. So Markdown it. Yep. And then they, so they do md.parse. Oh, I get it. Okay. This is why you should actually read what you're doing. And I don't want to parse it, I want to render it. That's right, because parse lets us see the components that it's on. Yeah, so the parse feature of Markdown is actually pretty nice. Okay. And look at that. Now we just have to mark it safe. I think there is the cheap way is to do it this way. There we go. And if we, let's see if we can test it out a little bit further. Security is hard. Don't roll your own crypto. That's being arrogant. What's another good one to tell people to do? Use CSRF because it makes people happy. Okay, so let's see what happens. Oops. Okay, so it's working. I know that there's a way to mark template tags as safe. So Django custom filter. Oops. I can't believe it's been I'm trying to figure out how long it's been since I did this. I think there's this thing called mark safe, auto escaping configuration. So mark safe. Yep, there we go. Mark it, you need to just mark the output. So you need to ensure it is really safe. For now, we're just going to mark safe, and we need to remember to add in something to strip out we need to have something that strips out HTML tags. We don't want people to be able to stick in their own stuff. So let's see how they do it. So they just mark the results safe. Okay, so now under chapter detail, where I hit it do save, I can get rid of that. And now, if we go back to the books, mine, okay, and if I click on it, if I go to security, we can see that it is more accurately, I mean, we're not having to do safe inside the template. So that was awesome. That was just a few minutes. I like the results there, especially since I can match it in HTML and JavaScript on the front end. And also we can point. So one of the things that we're thinking about doing when we create our APIs for this, which will come after the main app is done, but don't worry, it's like you have books and chapters. It's not like this is going to be a complicated API. If someone, and also the billing model for this, and we're going to have a free trial period for everyone here in Slack, but the once we get past the free trial period, we're going to have a usage-based pattern where the more you use it, the more you get charged. We're not going to have people in buckets. Like every build of a book is going to cost you a little bit of money. And we may, I guess, provide some free credit at the start of every month. I don't know. We haven't thought that too far ahead. But the thing is, if you want to like do fun things with this for your own book projects, let's say you're writing a book and you don't like our interfaces, you want to roll your own, well, you'll be able to do that. And then we don't care. I mean, the more we can help you use our system, the more money we make. So that's kind of the dream. That and getting a $7,000 laptop, so that way when I stream, things go faster. But okay, let's see how we're doing. We've touched a bunch of files. I should have been git committing this the whole way through. So let me save git commit. I'm just gonna lump it together and let Fabio yell at me later. I can't do that. Git commit. Let's see. All right, git add books, use, git add books, models, git add config, git add templates, git add books, URLs. So let's see what our current status is. Oh, git add books, migrations, git commit, and our message is going to be add working simple views for books and chapters, and then if we hit git status again, git add books, so git commit, and this time add markdown, add markdown rendering to chapters. Okay. Okay, so there, I'm pushed up. Ooh, I need to write tests, don't I? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So that's definitely something I need to figure out. I think what I want to do really quick is take a scan of Tailwind CSS and compare the base library with Tailwind Ui. Tailwind Ui, like Tailwind CSS, it doesn't, I mean, I really like the library. Someone like me who doesn't like playing with CSS, Tailwind is just really nice and obvious. And all the cool kids are using it. So, including one of my favorite front-end people, Vivian Gulen Borgos. She recommended it first to me a few years ago, and I finally started looking at it earlier this year. But um, where is it? The thing is I don't want to spend a lot of time playing with creating objects myself. And they have some example objects. I'm trying to look for like some of the default objects that they have in here, components, right? So it has the base library itself. They provide some examples, like this is how you construct a form, and you know, this is how you do alerts. So you can see that I guess it goes away if you click on it. So there's definitely some neat features of this, but I think what I want to do is look at Tailwind UI. Okay, let's take a look at Tailwind UI. Here we go. And part of the reason why I want to use this is to support the Tailwind community. As someone who would love to work as open source developer but can't seem to make that work, that someone else is succeeding makes me really happy. And I think that you know, also because I want to get things done fast, having a UI library would be really nice. Until a few years ago, I really liked Semantic UI. Oh my god, I love that front-end library. It is super dependent on jQuery, and I think I'm past the point in my life where I'm using jQuery. I still kind of have a soft spot in my heart, but there's something to be said about vanilla.js. And then, and there's just such a growing ecosystem for this. And I know Semantic UI doesn't work with front-end libraries like Vue, and I know that there's a maintained fork called Fomantic or Fromantic, and that's great, but I think I'm more interested in Semantic UI. It's also bright and shiny, and us developers are like birds. So we have hero sections, pricing sections. So, so we could build that with this, and I'm guessing it's going to be, so that's important for any kind of business application. It has footers. I want to see what the form elements look like. Also sidebar, my design is designed to have a sidebar. So I'm going to look at that. I know this, all right, where's list, tables, forms? And then let's take a look at what forms look like. We can look at sign-in and registration. So it's pretty, it's elegant. There's a nice contrast by default. So this is sort of similar to the design that we're going to have, where chapters are going to be here, and you'll be able to click on individual chapters, and then the chapter comes up here. And we'll use HTMX to do the loading. If HTMX isn't what we do, we'll just use vanilla JavaScript. So I'm kind of, yeah, this is so close already to what we want. And let's look at the HTML just so we get a feeling for this. Ooh. So that's a little bit more. So this is the price of Tailwind UI. So what's the difference? Application. Oh, so there's all application UI components. What's the marketing components? So another nice thing about Tailwind, it doesn't include any JavaScript, so we can use whatever we want. Let's see. So that's more money than I expected to pay. What is the difference between marketing? Oh, preview all the. Oh, so that's the heroes. So this is marketing, and then this is application UI. Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's. Thank you, Wonderpuff. Yeah. So I think I need to bounce this off of my, excuse me, fellow Feldroy coworkers. I know I'm an owner of Feldroy, but I like to call them coworkers. So I don't think I'm gonna start working on this yet. Let's see what else I can do. I'm gonna go look over here and pull up. So one of the things I don't know how to do that I'm considering doing for this project is learning Webpack. So that way we can compile our stuff exactly how we want. And I know there's like Django Webpack, but I think it's called Django Webpack. It's something like that. And you know, that's great that it exists, but it doesn't. All that abstraction still gets in the way of the fact that you still have to understand Webpack to really use it. So I'm pulling up the Right or Not project list, and I'll show you here, seeing if there's anything I can implement right now. Platform independence, user authentication, publish stories on Right or Not. Oh, I know what we can do. We can add a actually, I don't want to do a publish view yet because I want to figure out how I'm going to do that first, or like what options are. REST API, oh, book and story metadata. This is really important. Product, price, place, and promotion. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. We're working on the product. We have an idea for pricing. Place, is that like your website domain? We own rightornot.com. There's an ugly placeholder there that I don't know if the mailing list subscribe works. And then promotion, don't know. Oh, we are connected to various writers forums. So, so as a writer, I want to be able to add and edit metadata. So that's a matter of adding more fields, like, and this is something that absolutely does need to happen. So metadata. So book metadata is stuff like, I'm just gonna do a list of them and then we can do it tomorrow. So ISBN 10, ISBN 13, ASIN, that's the Amazon services identification number. We might include, okay, so URL is place. Let's look up the book metadata. So here we go. Here's the other nice thing is if we build a platform and it does well, we can apply to access like the Ingram Spark or Lightning Source API. Maybe you can do it anyway now. Title, subtitle. So we don't have a subtitle, which we do need. And this is stuff that we can implement really fast. Price, that's important. Price is actually complicated. What about different regions? This is a pain point with Django that, not Django, our books, is that we have one price point, and that is the amount that you see on feldroy.com, and we don't have per country pricing, although on Amazon we do have some ability to do that with Kindle Direct Publishing. But the reason why that's important is that, you know, there are 7 P's of services marketing that adds people, process, and physical evidence. So people, that would be like us in the team, and then process, I'm guessing is our, I don't know process. Is that our processes that build stuff? And then physical evidence is, in this case, if we could, you use our service and then order a book through it. Okay. So we want categories, book publishing of a pre-designated list. Yeah, in book publishing, there's this weird list of categories, and you get 2 of them. So it's just part of the fun of it. Important people, brands, additional contributors. Okay, so I see what you mean. So with right or not, the way our pricing, the way we intend to do it is that, so Randall Deggs, who's a good friend of mine, wrote this awesome article on usage-based pricing. And Randall Deggs, and we want to embrace that. Let's see if we can find his article. It is such a good article and on pricing, and we've done bucket-based pricing in the past because tools like here it is, the only type of API services I'll use. We've done bucket-based pricing in the past with very mixed success for softwares as services that we built like for customers. And so that's kind of why part of the experiment that is right or not is like LeanPub, they have bucket-based pricing. And with this, we want it to be you pay for what you use, and the more you use it, we'll figure out a way to like reduce your cost per unit. So let's say, for example, a book build originally to render a PDF and Mobi is like, let's say $1, right? But if you do more than 100 times, it's 90 cents. You might say, well, Danny, why would I render a book more than 100 times in a month? And to that I answer, well, then I guess you haven't done much book writing because you'll end up playing with formatting and seeing how the results look. Also, if we come up with an API, imagine if someone's like, hey, I'm going to use a Write or Not API to distribute customized ebooks, right? Like you hit our API, and then we will send to your reader books that match, that are customized to them. Like, I don't know if you ever got the books as kids that had your name in it. Like my sister got one, and my daughter Uma has one. So, maybe that's a feature that we'll offer. I don't know yet. All I know is that it sounds like kind of fun to experiment. And I know with like the Stripe and Paddle APIs and other payment gateways, we can alter the invoice per month. And so it's a little bit more work, but I think, if you're just using this very lightly and you're spending, $5 or $10, whatever our, we'll have a minimum that we charge per month, then, you'll be happy with that. And then when you start using it, you'll pay more and you'll be okay with it. So that's kind of the theory, I guess. And we may not have a base price. It might be like, okay, you I don't know. I don't want to do like, oh, you have to buy credits and then use up credits. So it's a little bit tricky how we're going to do that. So we're going to work on it. But I have 5 more minutes before I go. If anybody has a question, please go ahead and ask. What I will do right now is, while I'm waiting for questions, is I'm going to set my, hold on, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. I want to do this stream manager. Oh, my stream manager, I'm looking at it right now. What I want to do is I want to set, I don't know how to add, yeah, if I go to my, so my plan is I'm going to come back here tomorrow, probably around 11:30 to 2 again, work more on Right or Not. At that point, I will have, I'll talk to Audrey about which table design is preferred for 2 scoops of Django, and then we'll implement it there. So, awesome. Well, it's good to have you there listening, Matharoni, and everyone else who followed along. If you haven't done yet, please follow. If you want to, follow. If you want to get our books, then you can go to feldroy.com. I'll just share it in there. If you are looking at our books and you have a question, you can ask it here, and I'll try to switch context. I don't know how well that'll go. Yeah, tomorrow I'm definitely going to be doing some 2 scoops of Django and probably some Right or Not work. I thought I'd do some 2 scoops of Django, but I just got onto a roll. Actually, real quick, we can see if there's any really interesting GitHub issues with 2 scoops of Django. What's funny is I'm really supposed to knock Django Crash Course out. It's just right now. Yeah, so there's review Django rename app. Oh, you know what we can do tomorrow is we can go through the appendix on Django packages. I think it's called additional resources. And we can go through them one by one and review each one of them, make sure that we have listed the correct one, and if we need to replace it with something else or take it out of things. We'll also look at how we're going to organize it. We may change that, but yeah, it'll be lots of fun, and it'll take us into new places. Need something to drink. So again, thank you very much, and I will be on tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 6:30 p.m. UTC. That would be, hold on, I need to do the math. That would be 18:30 UTC, right? So I'll see you there.